Very quickly, can you tell me what biodiversity means? And what does endemism mean? And what do we mean by a biodiversity hotspot? I'll move on to the answers on the next slide. So, species diversity, so biodiversity actually forms three parts of three different components. So it means the number of different species and the abundance of each species in each area. So if there is a really high biodiversity, you could say that there's lots of different species and there's plenty in number of each of those species. Genetic diversity basically just means the genetic variation of. And the final one is ecosystem diversity. This means the variety of habitats that are within an ecosystem. So if you're in a lakeside area, you've got your aquatic ecosystem. You might have an ecosystem for animals like reptiles who live both in the water and on land. And then you might have an on-land ecosystem as well. So you've got a large amount of biodiversity there in terms of ecosystems. Endemism means when there is a species that is unique to one place. So for instance, those people who know about Lonesome George, I believe he died a few years ago, but he's a giant tortoise that was endemic to the Galapagos Islands only. They did not exist anywhere else. Sadly, those are becoming few and far between as a result of human populations able to move around. We have transported animals either. So is biodiversity important? Yes, I would say would have got you to do this in the classroom where you would have gone either yes or no. Personally, I think it's very important. The idea of biodiversity means that it actually gives us an answer to many of the questions about how we can live in life. So the fact that we do have so many different types of bacteria is brilliant because it shows. So I would like you to take this opportunity now to go through what are the risks to biodiversity. You can research these if you want. So how can it be measured? How can you measure the biodiversity within an area? You can measure the distribution, so where they're found and how many there are, and you can estimate them. Now this goes back to stuff we did in B3 where we used quadrats and transect lines. Sadly we had to do it on the desks and we had to make our own forest, if you remember, because of the weather, but you can recap that if you've got your revision guides. It's applicable to this as well. So quadrats, going around placing them at random, and you'll be able to measure the abundance or the population size. Or you can use transects to identify where certain things are living in relation to an object. So we might have looked at the number of daisies there are as you move away from a tree. There's a bit more information there. You don't need to know all these. The key bits are the ones from B3 that we covered. For this task here, what I'd like you to do is one of the skills you need to pick up as well is data manipulation and analyzing data. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to give me the percentages of each animal there is in the world. So at the bottom it says there's 1.66 million species in the world. I would like you to tell me as a percentage how many of those. So how can we maintain biodiversity or even bring it back? There are many different ways, and these are ways that we actually covered back in year 9, if you can remember. If you pause this, I will go through a few of the answers in a minute. Right now you should have unpaused me. So you could do zoos, where you might have endangered animals in there. Now zoos have their pros and their cons. Obviously these are not their proper habitat. Okay, you'll see there is a worksheet in the same file as this demonstrate task. So I'd like you to use I say textbooks, you can use your phones, you can use your computers, whatever you feel is needed to answer the questions on that worksheet. There's also a video for you to use. And finally, an exam question. I have put answers at the bottom of that worksheet for you, so it's ready to go.